We are joined by the one and only Ben, the NASCAR guy, Ben Bennett.
Lovely to be here.
And also joining us on the phone lines, our In the Turn interview / Going Green segment here tonight. Little combination of both. Sponsored by Brightman Lumber in Asonic. We're joined by the 1993, 1994, 1995, 96, 97, 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2006. That's 9-time Oxford Plains Speedway Pro Stock champion, driver of the number 88 Distance Racing Products, and the 2024 51st Annual Oxford 250 winner. Jeff Taylor joins us to kick off the show. Jeff, welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm all right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. So jump right into things. First question, obviously, we're going to talk about the Oxford 250 from a couple of weeks ago. But for those folks who might not know you, you're a pretty well-known guy here up in the Northeast. But tell us how you caught the racing bug.
Well, basically, my dad and my uncle had started racing when I was just born. So there was always race cars around. Dad never drove, always worked on them, but, that's how it all started for me, just being around them all the time.
So obviously you've cut your teeth and have quite a lot of experience up at Oxford Plains Speedway. And this past last week, there, a little over 10 days ago now, doing the math off my head,
Sure.
You ended up winning what was a crazy Oxford 250. Take us through the weekend leading up to that long-awaited victory. It's taken you 28 tries. Take us through the weekend. Tell us, what went down and how the whole weekend went.
Well, the weekend, pretty typical 250 weekend. I mean, they're long, a lot of days, a lot of waiting. Practice went well. We was generally towards the top 5 of the field. And just getting your tires bought and sized right, and the things that make the 250 the 250. You got to buy 18, 20 tires, so that's a big part of it. The draw is a big part of it, which we drew next to last out of everybody, so that's pretty standard for me. And then your heat race, was lucky enough to get in through the heat race, so you didn't have to go through all the other consies and last chance race, and that got us to the 250, and away we went.
The outside seemed to be a great passing lane as that race dwindled down and you were making moves towards the front. Is that common for a place like Oxford, or is the bottom really where you want to be making moves?
Well, I think it depends on the year. In my heyday when we raced all the time, the outside was fine. Here lately, the last few years, I don't race all the time, so I don't know the difference. But, a lot of people don't like the outside, now. The other night when our car was good, obviously at the end, the outside seemed the same as it always did. But like I say, I don't race all the time, so I don't know if I'm the best gauge for that, week in, week out. But the other night, it certainly worked for me.
So, obviously, rain came into play in that race there last week, and seemed like Joey Dwyron was really starting to run away with things. He won the Spirit of the 4th of July race, 300-lapper up there back in July. But the rain kind of changed things up. How did the rain affect or help you?
Yeah, for my car, as soon as we took off after the rain, like lap 1 of turn 1, it seemed a lot better. So, in my mind, I thought, it's better, but how long is it going to be better? Because the track had gotten colder and obviously cleaned up because of the rain. So I was a little nervous that it wasn't going to last long. But within the same 20 laps, we also put on our last set of tires, but from that point on, my car just was extremely better, and I think for some reason it bothered everybody else. Probably put them on the tighter side. That'd be normal. But for our car, it definitely helped it out, and it definitely lived till the end of it.
You had a great battle with Bubba Pollard late in that race, and I mean, you're a 9-time track champion, so I think you know how to get around that place pretty well. What was that battle like, and what did it take to hold him off?
Well, the battle, people have asked, and it was as calm I've probably ever been in a race car because, A, I trusted him. I've watched him race, and unless you mess with him, he generally doesn't mess with you. So, I assumed if we raced the same way that I've seen, we'd be fine. And honestly, it kept your mind off what possibly was going to happen. You were so focused on racing him, doing the right things, putting your car in the right spot, keeping an eye on him. It basically took your mind off the end of the race, and that you actually might win the 250, which obviously I'd never done.
You mentioned, obviously, not winning the 250 until last week. Your 28th try. For those who might not be too familiar with you who are listening tonight, first off, tell us when your first 250 was, and then maybe if you have, leading up to the win, obviously, which I would think is probably a favorite moment, a favorite Oxford 250 moment from the past.
Well, I think my memory gets a little vague here. But if I remember right, it was like 89 or 90. We tried attempting the first 250. Now I didn't make it, but there's a lot of different memories. The first time I've been second 3 times, and the first time we finished second, that was pretty special because I'd never done that before. Led a lot of laps. The year we came back, even from Busch racing. We went Busch North racing in 98 and 99, and when I came back, I drove Joe Rosenfield's car, which lives down Massachusetts, him and his brother Jimmy. Always raced around Seekonk and their dad. And we should have won the 250 that year. Got a couple laps, 4 laps down on the yellow, and ended up passing the field twice to end up only 2 laps down, which isn't, winning by no means, but that basically meant you drove by everybody twice because there was no lucky dogs back in those days. You had to get your laps back, you had to pass everybody. So even though you didn't win, that was special to me because of how fast it was, and it's just sad you didn't win with it. But that's probably the neatest memory, outside of obviously this past 2 weeks ago.
So obviously you're a guy running a little bit more of a part-time schedule. You're more of a hands-on guy behind the scenes. Talk to us a little bit about your experience behind the scenes over the years.
Yeah, I mean, we only raced, obviously the 250 this year was the first time we've even raced this year. My day job is building race cars at Distance Racing Products. We have customers from obviously Connecticut to as far northeast as Nova Scotia. So, have a lot of great customers, Thompson, Seekonk, and have had for years. Them guys have been coming up, getting cars. But basically just fixing them and building them for everybody. And, it's such an area, mileage-wise from Connecticut to Nova Scotia. There's cars at every one of those racetracks in between. So that keeps myself pretty busy here.
78 victories at Oxford is an incredible number. Which one challenged you the most throughout the years, and which one are you most proud of?
Well, obviously, I mean, the challenge, the 250 as of late, obviously is right there. But my initial first one was my biggest challenge, I believe, because it took me 7 years of going there week in and week out before I ever did win a race. Most people, especially nowadays, would probably give up way before they went there for 7 years, But in my mind, trying that hard for so long, I think it means more to me that it took that much effort to win. And once it did win, it was ingrained in you how you did it. Every misstep is always a lesson. So, the bad days are bad, but you learn more from the bad days than you ever do the good, the really good days or the wins. The wins are easy are easy to take less from because you won. You're all caught up in the moment of winning. You might not realize what you did to do that. So, and that's obviously the biggest challenge. And then obviously the 250, as you got to the point where you could win races, and we, had a lot of different cars through the years. We could have. I've had some that I went that weren't very good, but that'd be the second best, And up till a couple weeks ago, it was always on your mind if it would ever happen.
So we've been speaking with the 51st annual Oxford 250 winner, Jeff Taylor. And Jeff, before we let you go, any other plans for 2024 racing-wise on the docket, or is that it? And I know you did say the important thing in your victory lane interview the other night that you're not going to run the Oxford 250 anymore. Is that true?
Oh, that's true. There's no racing. Once I won, we had this discussion, amongst the family, my wife and I, and it's so hard to run the business, try to be prepared, and it's just too tough to do, And when I go race, I don't want to go knowing that I didn't work hard enough on my car, and I don't want to go unless I know I'm prepared, because I've done that, and it just gets more frustrating. So, on the way to the races, I think it was Saturday, but we were talking in the truck, and obviously that topic of winning always generally pops up somewhere, and and it said, if we ever win that is it. It's because it's never going to be any bigger moment, any more special time than then, and and that's the truth. So, that's it for my racing career. We're still building race cars, and work goes on, but that was the one thing we had never done there, and that's why I kept going back. Just hoping the odds were greater because of the way I was doing it. But, obviously on one day, it did work out that way.
9-time Oxford Plains Speedway Pro Stock champion, Jeff Taylor, joining us. And last question before we let you go. Who would you like to thank, sponsors, friends, family, for helping you get that Oxford 250 win?
Well, obviously, sponsor-wise, I only have one. And it's Eric Designs that does the graphics on the car, and he had just celebrated his 40th year in business, so that's pretty cool. And he's helped me on my race car. I can't remember exactly what year, but from the early 90s, he has supported us no matter how bad I tore it up, no matter if I thought I needed to change the body because I'd go faster. So he's always been in our corner. Help-wise, obviously my wife, my brother-in-law helps, Brian, Ryan Dean and his family helped, Scott Chabuk helped, and he works at Wiscasset Speedway, Grimace helped, Matty Sanborn that races, he was our spotter, and I'll know, like anything, I'll forget somebody here, but Ed Littlefield helped, they race at Oxford. And basically, thank everybody that helped through the years, because there's a list of names there that you wouldn't have enough time for me to talk about. So, it's just a ton of people that some are still here to see it, some aren't. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show here tonight. Jeff Taylor, the 51st annual Oxford 250 winner.